This is our pre-lesson, What is Literacy? And it was actually created by Mrs. Taylor, coordinating teacher for Spalding Middle School. Our objectives for this lesson. By the end of this unit, students should be able to A. Define literacy, B. Discuss the importance and relevance of literacy in the real world, C. Examine the relationship between literacy needed to function in the real world and literacy skills used in English language arts classes, and D. Summarize literacy strategies that may be applied to content in English language arts. The National Assessment for Adult Literacy says that literacy is the ability to use printed and written information to function in society, to achieve one's goals, and to develop one's knowledge and potential. So I know you ask yourself, what does that really mean? In other words, literacy is more than just reading and writing. It's using written and oral language to function in society and to solve problems. And so that means that we have to be able to write and speak in order to do things that we want to do in the real world. So, let's talk. How do you use reading, writing, and speaking to function in society? And how do you use reading, writing, and speaking to solve real world problems? And I want you to answer those questions now in the Edpuzzle box. Let's look at these problems and see if we can determine a solution to help us. Make sure you write down your answers on the worksheet that you've been provided with. So the first one says, I am hurt from a broken relationship. How can literacy help with this solution? I can write a letter to the person who hurt me, and that way I can get all of my feelings out. Or I can read a book that offers relationship advice. Now, let's look at the other choices, and I want you to come up with literacy examples or ways that literacy can help you to solve these problems. So the second one says, my parents say I have to make at least a C in every class or I can't try for my permit. How can literacy help? Put your answer in the Edpuzzle box. Situation 3 says, I have a chance to go to Washington for a youth leadership trip, but I am afraid of traveling alone and meeting new people. Put your answer in the Edpuzzle box. Situation 4 says, the doctor says I have high blood pressure and I may have to take medication for a very long time. How can reading, writing, and speaking help me to solve this problem? Put your answer in the Edpuzzle box. Let's look at these situations. My parents are getting a divorce. I'm devastated. I feel like I don't fit in at school. I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. People tell me I won't be successful and that I will be just like another family member who didn't do anything with his or her life. Choose one of the options. Option 1, about divorce. Option 2, not fitting in. Option 3, not knowing what you want to be when you grow up. Or option 4, people telling you that you won't be successful. Choose one of these problems and explain how reading, writing, and speaking can help you solve this problem in the Edpuzzle box. So let's look at the role of literacy in different situations. So for the first one, in obtaining information, all right, we can solve that problem by finding information that is relevant from useful information. So we have to figure out which one really applies to what I'm looking for. Literacy helps us in developing relationships because it teaches us how to get along with others, provide solutions for conflicts, seek answers. It helps us to seek answers to questions. It gives us an answer to ignorance. In completing tasks, we can use literacy to fix repairs or cook a meal or care for infants. When we're traveling, it becomes more enjoyable and less stressful because literacy helps us not to get lost by using maps or the GPS or reading information ahead of time. in developing economic literacy, and we mean economic means money. So we can find literacy helps us to figure out ways to save money and use money wisely and get out of debt. Or if we want to become employable, we want to find a job and we need to develop skills that will help us to achieve that goal. Literacy can help us build our portfolio so that if a job that we already have falls through, that we'll be a good candidate for the next job. Make sure that you have written all of this information down because questions will be coming up next. So, do any of us ever wonder what this, meaning a class, or this, a literature book, this, novels or novel studies, or even this, flowcharts about different ELA concepts, and this, our standardized tests, have to do with you being able to be literate in society? How are all of the things that we do in ELA going to help you function in society and solve problems? How do classroom and state assessments help you with real world literacy? That's an honest question. So what I want you to do here is write a reflection in the Edpuzzle box on today's topic and lesson in literacy. So I want you to share with me, how are the things that we do in English going to help us in the real world? How will being able to read, speak, and write help us to be able to be successful in the real world once we become adults? What do writers write? So the reason why anything is written is because whoever wrote it wants somebody to read it and understand it. And that's very important to know, that even when we write, we're writing for a specific audience. Sometimes we're writing for our parents. Sometimes we're writing for our teachers. Sometimes we're writing for our friends and our peers. And sometimes we're writing for people that we don't even know. Your final assignment after you finish this video is to create an A to Z literacy document. And what that means is, I want you to take the first letter of your first name and then go 5 letters above and come up with documents that fit that letter. For example, my first letter starts with C. So I'm going to come up with C, D, E, F, and G. And I'm going to find things that I need to use to read, write, or speak. So for example, C, a contract, because you have to be able to write a contract, and you also have to be able to read a contract if you're expected to sign something. So I want you to come up with 5 of those things and then put them in a keynote presentation to share with me later.